ticket for a chance at prizes like half a hog, a custom log bench, and more. Contact Cynthia at 360-742-7747 or search Dawn Rivard Kidney Transplant on Facebook to help today.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tootell and Coulter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. My voice cracked right when I came on. All of a sudden, what happened? What do you know? Homecoming in Missoula tomorrow. Bozeman in San Luis Obispo. And not actually, just the football team. It is Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Happy Friday to you. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us on the radio and on SWX Montana Television statewide. Outstanding to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen live via the stream no matter where you are, no matter what you're up to. You're at your house. You're in your office, maybe you're in another country, you know? We get some of that. Large South African contingent listening to Tootell and Nuanez, I might add. We've looked at the details. Shout out. Anyway, staying up late to listen to us in South Africa, man. It's like 4 a.m., something like that. Anyhow, what am I talking about? Oh, right. The stream. Listen to it. 1029ESPN.com. The stream available thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. You can also pick up your phone and call 329-1899. The phone number. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Let's take a look at what we got in the show today. Rob Fennessy, the head coach of Idaho State, former assistant to Bobby Hauck, both at the University of Montana and UNLV. He's now the head coach of Idaho State. So oddly enough, a homecoming, and he's not the only one on the staff over there with the Bengals, heading to Missoula tomorrow. That's a former Grizz player or coach. So there's a big staff over there, and how Houston. Coulter, the Houston Texans, everybody's like, it's New England South, even though it's not. That's sort of kind of what Idaho State's doing. They're trying to do this, stamp out the Montana model a little bit. You got the coaching tree branching out there in Pocatello. So we will hear from Rob Fennessy here coming up in just a bit. We'll get you ready for the prep football weekend, a big weekend, including crosstown rivalry in Missoula, Big Sky and Sentinel playing football tonight. We also have our dear friend Carolyn, the chick who doesn't know about sports. She's going to be in here with us today as well. At the top of the hour, got plenty of stuff going on. We're going to give you away a bunch of stuff today as well. Going to give away Katie O'Keefe's gift cards. We're going to give away Warden's Market, 6-pack and a sandwich. Sometimes you get the spit build up and you got to swallow.
God, stop.
I'm sorry. You got to do it. We're going to do some picks against the spread as well, NFL style, and it's a Friday. It's our 2-minute Tootell and Nuanez mashup, so we're going to get to that. So there you go. That is our show outlook. It is brought to us by Shine Auto Detailing. Shine Auto Detailing online at MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. They are fun. They are good. They're going to get your car looking right. ShineAutoDetailing.com. Coulter, we are sitting here, and it is, a Friday afternoon. So what do we do on a Friday? Well, we enjoy a little Florence coffee, do we not?
I don't have mine because I've already drank
You
so
drank
much
it
coffee.
already?
Well,
You got here like 7 minutes ago.
Full disclosure, I actually had a Florence Coffee Company at my afternoon sales meeting at 2:30, so then I gifted the Florence Coffee Company that I had right now to the gals up front because I said if I drink back-to-back triple Americanos, I'm going to probably go to Mars.
Through the roof. Yeah. Go through the roof. Well, I will drink mine. Thank you very much. Pink lids, by the way. Shout out for the pink lids.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
There you go.
Is this pink?
It's pink and white, so it's when it's taken as a whole, it's light pink.
Cool.
Which is odd anyways because pink's already fairly light. Anyway, it's a Friday. You can stay up late. You can sleep in. It's homecoming tomorrow. You want to get your weekend started right? Go to a Florence Coffee Company kiosk right now. Get yourself a triple Americano. Feel good about life with the Florence Coffee Company, all right?
Think I could wear a pink shirt every day for the whole month?
Yes, I do.
Should I try?
You know what you could wear is your pink blazer. That is a beautiful jacket. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I might ask you to borrow that thing. Think that'll fit me?
Maybe.
You're worried about that thing if I'm in it, though. I take that for a spin. It might not come back.
Yeah, I don't know, though. It would actually probably just make me feel really bad about myself.
Why?
Because you're a very big guy, and you'd still probably make you look like a child. So then I'd be thinking, well,
got into dad.
Triple X, I don't know. Maybe try to get down to XL. I don't know. It's like a 56 in the old chest, you know?
Here's the problem, man. I've bought one suit coat in my life. My wife and I went and got a suit for me. And it's nice, but it's black, you know, so it's like pretty formal. The only other suit coat that I have is I was given a nice Pendleton jacket for graduation from high school by my grandmother.
Very nice.
It is snug on me this day.
Yeah.
But it does fit. I do
that's
wear
good.
it.
There's no chance I could wear anything from
a
year ago, let alone
every other
high
suit
school.
coat I have, and I do have about 5 of them, 6 of them. This is for, you know, if you see me on SWX tonight with Sean Rainey and the guys over there, they are all Goodwill.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great place to get your suit coats as far as I'm concerned. But the fit situation is sort of like if they got what they got,
right.
and unless you can get your shoulders wider or skinnier, which is hard to do, you may or may, you know, I got some stuff that's coming down to the middle of my palm, and it is a little, it's a little kind of big kid on me.
Yeah. I got one custom because one of my best friends got married in Florida. He says, here's the deal. Because you got to buy a ticket from Montana to Florida. Sanibel Island is where I had to get to. So by the time you get the plane ticket and the rental car and yada, 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 I mean, you're talking a couple grand. Okay, well, what's the good news then? He says, well, getting you guys custom-made Kenneth Cole suits and Cole Haan special-fitted custom-made shoes. And I was like, okay,
wow,
this is a good trade. That's a gift that's kept on giving because I wear that jacket all the time.
Oh, yeah. That's great. That's a great gift right there.
Yeah.
By the way, just want to make sure I get this right because I did not get it exactly right. Shine Auto Detailing is the name, okay? MissoulaAutoDetailing.com is the website for Shine Auto Dealing. So we're clear. Our thanks to Shine Auto Detailing, okay, for bringing us the show Outlook today. Coulter, let's talk Montana, Idaho State because we got Rob Fennessy coming up here in just a couple of minutes, and we want to get to this. But I have said this is a trap game for Montana in the following sense because I fully expect the Grizzlies to win this game, and I fully expect them to be up for this game. I think often when people say trap game, the presumption is because one team isn't ready for the other team. I think Montana will be ready to go for Idaho State tomorrow, particularly at homecoming. So I'm not talking about any of that. It's a trap game in two senses. One, it's a trap game for the fans because I don't think that the fans are fully appreciative of probably how good this Idaho State team is, especially offensively. Okay? I think the football team and the coaching staff is very well apprised of how good they are. But I think that they're going to surprise some fans in how well they play tomorrow, that being the Bengals. And so I think this game's going to be a little closer than some people think in a high-scoring game. I also think it's a trap game, if you can call it that, because Montana played, again, the best game I've seen them play since I've been on the air in this town in terms of a full football game.
Better than NDSU?
At UC Davis. Yeah. I mean, the NDSU game was great. There's a lot of factors in that football game. They played a great game. They were up for it. But this was dominant. I mean, they won that game against NDSU on a 4th and goal, and it was great. And anytime you beat NDSU, it's pretty remarkable, right? But this I mean, maybe it's just because of how highly I think about UC Davis. I mean, UC Davis lost to NDSU the week before by, you know, in a 27-17 game or whatever it was. I mean, it's a good football game. So they're not on par. NDSU is better than UC Davis, no question about it.
Yep.
But UC Davis is a great team. Great team. And they didn't lose. They got hammered. They were wiped off the map on Saturday. You don't replicate that performance very often. Like a lot of things got to come together to play that well.
Yep.
It's just it's just so unlikely that you play that well in every aspect of the game again. And so if you are not playing as well, even if you're ready to go, against a team who is better than what people think, that to me is a recipe for a bit of a trap. That said, I think Montana wins this game, and I think that I think they certainly could win this game handily, but I do think, if people are going, well, this is going to be a 40-point game, this could be a 30-point game. No, I don't believe that.
Brooks, my brother Brooks and I were talking about it on the Big Sky Breakdown earlier today, just about the feeling when you're playing one of the actual charter members of the Big Sky, when you're the Cats or the Grizz comparatively. Right. I mean, it just feels different. Yes, this league is so wide and it's just so vast that Portland State's been in the league now for 24 years, and Sac State has too, but it's still, and Northern Colorado's been in the league for 16 years now, and it still doesn't feel like when you play Idaho State, because Idaho State's been in the league. No matter what they've been in the league since 1963, just like Montana, just like Montana State. And we also have to think that the culture at Idaho State has been forever, since before Rob Fennessy, since before Mike Kramer, since before Jeff Zamberlin, since before Larry Lewis, all the way back to the Dirk Cutter days. Idaho State's been trying to be Montana. That's what they want to be. That's what they want to replicate. And Idaho State has given. By the
way, they're not alone.
No doubt.
Schools,
no doubt. But I think they're close in proximity.
Mm-hmm.
And
in the same conference.
I mean, Idaho State's given Montana a run for their money quite a few times. I mean, if the last time these two teams played was 2 years ago, and Bob Stitt's Grizz went to Pocatello and won 39-31, and then you had the weirdest post-game handshake in the history of the world where Stitt sprints to the middle of the field, gives him a banker handshake, and sprints the other way. Fantasy's standing in the middle of the field like, what's up, bro? What? Like, this is so weird. Why'd you just dog me like that? It was the weirdest thing ever. But then, think back to the year before that, and Brady Gustafson's out in that game. Chad Chalich is making his first start, and he just goes nuts.
6 touchdowns, I think.
Threw 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Keenan Curran caught 4 of them.
Yeah. And
they score. They run it up on Idaho State, but then Idaho State rallies. It's a 62-44 game. But I mean, even though you score 62, you still only win by 2.5 scores. That's pretty crazy too. And then the year before that, the last time they played was when they played in Pocatello, 2015, and had the craziest ending ever, where Idaho State lined up for the game-winning field goal. Snap goes over his head.
Yeah.
Jared Nelson flips the ball up,
like fumble recover. Oh, whoops!
Over the head,
like a little assist on the.
Tua, I can't even remember who got the ball, but whoever didn't got it and sprinted all the way to pay dirt and wins. A walk-off, bad snap field. I mean, I've never seen the ending that happened.
Yes.
But you just got to remember that even when Idaho State's been bad, they've always given the Grizz a good game. And so they're going to be up for this game. And as Rod Fennessy will say here, this is a game that means a lot to his program. But I think it's going to mean a lot to Montana, too. I mean, Bobby Hauck talked very somberly and very directly about how good he thinks Idaho State is. And he's not wrong, man. I said this all week on this show. Idaho State has 3 of the best skill players in the conference. Mikey Dean, Mitch Guller, and Ty Flanagan are the real deal. I mean, all 3 of those guys would. And
if Struck is also the real deal as quarterback, I mean, that's.
I mean, how good are the 3 guys I just named? I truly think they would all start for the Grizz. That's how good they are.
Mm.
I mean,
it's impressive.
It would be a real toss-up between Samari Torrey and Mitch Guller, and I'd probably pick Mitch Guller. Mm-hmm. It'd be a real toss-up between Jerry Louis McGee and Mikey Dean. And I mean, I don't know. You're probably splitting reps with those 2 guys. They're the 2 most electric little guys in the league. And Ty Flanagan, Marcus Knight's great. Ty Flanagan's better.
Yeah.
So they have real deal skill position guys.
The one thing that when in your conversation, great conversation with Bobby Hauck that we aired yesterday, one thing he said in that interview that I really seized onto, and he kind of mentioned it in passing, but he talked about that's the art of putting together a great season. And all this, 1-0 this week, but it is stitched together. It's quilted together into this arc of a season. And he is so very aware and prepared for what it is to have a great season as a whole. And that means playing great week in and week out. But that's one thing where, when I look at Bobby Hauck and what he does well, that to me is something, the art of a great season. And the art of a great season is going and beating the pants off a great team on their field and then following it up and saying, and we proved it that wasn't a fluke or whatever it was. We came back against another good team, maybe not as good, but a team that's dangerous nonetheless, and did it again or won again, however it goes. And if Montana can do that tomorrow, that is the thing that pushes the program forward, because like you said, if you follow a great win with a loss, it undoes the win and more, probably. Coulter, this is your conversation with Rob Fennessy. You were the one who was able to sit down and talk with him, so good job by you here. Here you go. The Idaho State head coach, former University of Montana assistant, former UNLV assistant to Bobby Hauck, Rob Fennessy.
We go now to the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. We welcome in Idaho State third-year head coach Rob Fennessy. Coach Fennessy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Excited to talk with y'all.
Idaho State at Montana for homecoming on Saturday afternoon at Washington Grizzly Stadium. It's sure to be a great Big Sky Conference clash. Coach, before we get into this game, though, let's talk about just the scope of your season so far. An interesting season for Idaho State because with the extra non-conference game, which comes around every 5 years, you guys were actually finally able to play a non-conference FCS opponent. For the last 10 or so, maybe even more than that, years, Idaho State usually playing an FBS, maybe two, and then a Division II team, and you hardly ever get to play an actual FBS non-conference. So you guys got to play Northern Iowa, as well as playing a couple up games, and as well as a Division II game too. So just overall, how'd you think your team did during the non-conference schedule? Where do you think you guys are at right now?
It was interesting. We went from we started with Western Colorado, who's an improved Division II team, and came out of that one with a victory, and then went down and played a Utah team that was playing with a ton of confidence. A lot like the Grizzlies going to Austin and playing the Ducks. A tough environment to play in, and a very, very good defense. And I had to talk Ferreter off the ledge a little bit for 30 points. And but you look at it, and they held Washington State to 13. And Washington State's the number one passing offense in the nation, so we didn't feel so bad after that. And then go out to a tough place to play out in the Unidome, out in Cedar Falls, and slug it out with Northern Iowa a little bit. And our defense felt pretty confident coming out of that, knowing that they held them to 13 points, and frankly, on offense we gave up 3 of those and really held them to 10. So and then kind of put it all together, all the frustration. The good thing about Northern Iowa, like you mentioned, it was a non-conference FCS game. That was the first time since 2008 that Idaho State did that. And with our athletic director, Pauline Theros, she really wants to get to those games rather than – we're not playing any more D2s. We'll always have an FCS non-conference from here on out. So kind of fired up about that. I'd rather do that and play like teams. And then as I said, Portland State came in for the Big Sky opener, and any Big Sky win is a big win, and it's a chance to be 1-0 and be in first place in Big Sky for the week. So it was fun. Kids have responded.
Watching you guys the last couple of years, especially since Mike Verder took over your offense and you guys have been collaborating on that, it seems as if when you guys get rolling, there's a certain element of rhythm and a certain element of momentum. And just watching the Portland State, Idaho State game back last week, you guys were just absolutely on fire in that second quarter. You guys go into halftime up 41-10, but just absolutely laying it on them. But Matt Struck back in the starting lineup as your quarterback, and he was accurate. He was throwing unbelievably good deep balls, and he ends up throwing 6 touchdowns on just 16 completions. So, first of all, what does Matt bring to your offense? And second of all, how much of a factor can momentum be when you guys really get rolling?
Yeah, Matt has a big arm. That's one thing, and there's not a throw that whether it's good or bad or right, wrong, and different. There's not a throw that he doesn't think he can make. Yeah. We have to live with that sometimes. But no, he just brings. He understands the system. Mike has done a fabulous job with him. Mike Ferreter is a really good coach, and he's got Matt going in the right direction. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Just the element of momentum, because, I know you guys run so much of the run-pass option stuff, so it seems like when the run game's working, now the pass is working. When the pass is working, the run game starts working. It seems like you guys can just build so much momentum within the scope of a drive.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Mike gets into a rhythm, and the quarterback gets into a rhythm, and then the whole offense gets into a rhythm. And you can't put a finger on it. It's just a matter of going out and executing and not getting any hiccups along the way. But if you do have a hiccup, you got to overcome it and get back on track.
Tell me about the way you guys got Matt Struck to Idaho State, because looking at his bio, it's very interesting. He's a standout in high school, but then he goes to a junior college, and I know at Riverside Community College he had a couple star guys in front of him, Victor Viramontes and Travis Johnson, both guys who were former Power 5 players, and so not many reps for Matt Struck there either. How did you guys end up finding that he was a guy that had the ability that he does?
Well, going into last year, we had Tanner Geller, obviously, as a starter. And I don't know how Mike got, how Struck got in touch with Mike, or I don't know what the whole background with that was, but it was like, hey, take a look at this guy. He has some practice film, and he had like I said, you can see on the film, he had a big arm, and he was behind a guy that went to Minnesota and a guy that went to the Bozeman school, and so he didn't get much time, but so he came up here and he was actually late getting into camp here. He missed the first 4 days due to a class he had to finish up. And so we're lucky he had a redshirt year. He didn't have time to get the install from last year, and he redshirted, was on scout team all last year. And then with Tanner graduating, being done with his eligibility at the end of the fall, we looked around for a transfer quarterback, and that didn't pan out. And we saw Matt had the tools, and we started, develop him and Gunner, the two that we had. And really, it took Matt a while to master the offense. And really towards the end of fall camp is where he started to come into his own with it. So, just interesting deal. A kid came here as a walk-on, and we put him on scholarship before this fall.
What a story. You guys have all sorts of interesting stories at Idaho State. Rob Fennessy joining us on the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. He is the third-year head coach at Idaho State. His team coming to Missoula, Montana to play the Montana Grizzlies for homecoming on Saturday afternoon. And speaking of interesting stories, I got to ask you about your two senior receivers. Mitch Guller, a former professional baseball player who's going on probably 25 or 26 years old right now, playing his senior year. And then Mikey Dean, maybe one of the smallest but arguably the fastest player in the entire Big Sky Conference, a 5'6" guy who was a former just absolute speed demon on the track and still competes for Idaho State in track. So those two guys, how do you think they compare, contrast each other, and how do they fit into your guys' offense?
Yeah, it's yin and yang, man. One's big and physical, the other one's little and, shifty. But, you mentioned interesting stories. That's how we got to get outstanding players here at Idaho State. We're going to recruit hard. And we're going to pull some guys, but, we have to take a guy like Mikey Dean, who's 5'5", and take a chance on him. Otherwise we won't get, Mikey's 5'7", 5'8", he's not here.
Right.
Mitch Guller, he'll turn 26 the week we play BYU, so he'll be as old as the rest of the BYU.
No doubt.
But, Mitch brings a lot of maturity. Because he's had to work for a living already for 40. He's been in the real world where your performance matters, whether you put food on your table or not, more or less. And so this whole football thing to him is just fun. School to him comes easy and it's fun because it's like he's been out there in the real world. So they're two diverse guys, but the thing that's great about both of them is they know the entire offense. Mm-hmm. They could play any position basically if need be. Now, obviously, we wouldn't put Mikey at center; it'd be kind of funny. But but they're just two guys that they play off one another and they understand each other and they're both elected captains this year. So team respects them, and that says a lot about those two.
Idaho State at Montana on Saturday afternoon, and Coach Fennessy, you coached at Montana for 7 years, and you coached with Bobby Houck for more than a decade, and this will be your first time as a head coach, coaching against a guy that you worked for so long. What do you expect that experience to be like?
We talk basically every week during,
right.
And then he we sent congratulatory texts Saturday, and last thing he said was, hey, make sure you get everything you need, make sure everybody's taking care of you. If not, let me know. And, obviously we won't talk all week just because, it's a competitive deal where you're trying to prepare. He's trying to prepare. And it'll be, once the games start, all that stuff kind of goes out the window about, you get focused on your team, just like going against Ty Gregorak the last couple years at Montana State. I've known Ty for a super long time, but once the game gets going, you don't think about that. It all goes into your preparation, but once the game goes, that's the game it doesn't run itself, but it runs itself. And it'll be fun. Seeing all those guys, seeing CJ and Justin Green and Rosie and Kent Bear, and it's funny. I go through there. I know basically everybody on their staff, so it'll be fun. And we got a lot of crossover with Ferreter and JB Hall, and then even our strength coach Dan Ryan, and even our equipment manager Quentin Cohorst. He worked at UNLV with us, so we got there's a lot of crossover in this deal. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. One thing I was going to say, he's probably telling the team that he and I, if we did Oklahoma drill out before the game in the middle of the field, he would probably beat me. But I'm going to say no. I would smack him around. That is a joke, people. Joke. Ha ha.
I love it. Well, last couple of questions for you, Coach. When you look at Montana, I mean, they have taken a big jump since a year ago, but do you see that on film, and where do you see maybe the progress that they've made since Coach Houck is back in the fold?
Well, shoot, they're playing with a ton of confidence. Yep. They're playing Grizzly football the way that Grizzly football is played. They're playing very physical on defense, playing fast on offense, making plays. They got 3 great receivers. They have a really good running back, quarterback, controls the whole thing. And like I said, defense is very physical, very sound, very fast, and they get to the ball. And you just see there's a little energy going right now. And you come into a homecoming game where it's going to be arguably the biggest crowd of the year, as it usually is, and it's going to be an exciting game. And I'm kind of fired up. I've been getting a lot of texts all week from former players that are fired up, like, hey, can't wait to see it, man. It's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And then Ferreter, too. If I go back to my phone and look how many guys from the 09, 08, 07, even back to the 03, 04 teams that are texting me saying, hey, this, can't wait to see it, Coach. It's going to be fun. That makes it kind of feel good.
A homecoming of sorts all across the board. Montana hosting Idaho State for a homecoming game, and a lot of Idaho State coaches coming back to a place that they coached for a long time. Rob Fennessy joining us. And, Coach, best of luck on Saturday. We really appreciate the time today.
Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you, man.
There you go. Rob Fennessy, head coach of the Idaho State Bengals with Coulter there. Great interview, Coulter. Good job. And, always good to get his thoughts. And he's a straight shooter when it comes to, he'll give you his, real sort of unfiltered self when he talks to you, and you kind of get that sense, and you can understand why things have been going well for Idaho State with Rob Fennessy at the helm, and the needle is pointed up for the Bengals. So 1 o'clock kickoff, Washington Grizzly Stadium tomorrow, homecoming. By the way, come see us. We'll be on the air at 11:30 tomorrow, across from the adjacent to the walking bridge, across from the Eastgate Shopping Center. We will be doing ESPN College Game Day, our pregame show for the homecoming game tomorrow on the air at 11:30. And of course, the tailgate's going on. You can come get yourself a drink from the Badlander, get yourself some free samples from Domino's Pizza. I'm into that. Yes, very much for that. The MSO Hub has all the swag, all the gear you need, including clear plastic bags. So come down, check it all out down there. We'll be around all morning and getting you ready with the tailgate party there for the game. So come on by when you park on the north side of the river, head over to the walking bridge and say hello. Grab some swag from us, and even free soft drinks as well from Pepsi. So plenty of stuff going around over there, and we'll look forward to that. Speaking of free stuff, Coulter, let's give the people something here today. Katie O'Keefe's. We're going to do our picks of the week, picks against the spread in the NFL in the next hour. But right now, thanks to Katie O'Keefe's, how's $25? You pony up and bend at the elbow with Katie O'Keefe's sound. Go over there, take your friends tomorrow. It's homecoming. Get a group together and get $25, right?
The only stipulations, you must use the whole thing while you're there.
There you go.
Done deal. That's it. So if you give us a call right now, 329-1899, first caller will get this. Katie O'Keefe's Bar Tab, presented by Katie O'Keefe's and ESPN Missoula. Go use this after the game tomorrow, or if you're not going to the game, you need a place to watch it. Go use it down there this afternoon, or tomorrow afternoon, excuse me. You come get this from us at the Chamber of Commerce parking lot right at the base of the walking bridge. We'll have it ready for you. Katie O'Keefe's, if you haven't been there, go check it out. The new bar, the redesign, everything is beautiful, and it's a great place to watch football. Saturdays or Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays, no matter where you're at, they have drink specials almost every single night. associated with football. So go check them out there in the Stevens Center. And make sure when you enter the door, you go left. Katie O'Keefe's, where the cocktails are always cold and people are always friendly.
We'll get you set with the prep football slate and what player is our Coulter and I most looking forward to watching from teams that either the Cats or Grizz are playing tomorrow. We'll tell you right after this. In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com. Hey folks, Ryan Tootell here with Josh from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident and need help dealing with the insurance company, you should give The Advocates a call.
It doesn't cost anything at all to call, and I'd be happy to talk with you about your situation. You don't want to have to be dealing with contacting the insurance companies and setting up your claim. We can do that for you from start to finish. We'll take the hassle out of the process so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give Josh a call, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers, but you deserve an advocate.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up.
Need to relax? Grab a drink and a snack at your Town Pump. Pick up Miller & Coors 12-pack cans, 2 for $20. Mix and match. And Lay's 2XL chips, 2 for $6. Town Pump, there's one just down the road from you.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
If you're looking for a charming neighborhood hideaway, come into Katie O'Keefe's. Located in the corner of the Stevens Center, Katie's has an inviting atmosphere with ample parking in a location that's easy to get to and hard not to love. With drink specials every night of the week, including Tequila Tuesdays and Whiskey Wednesdays, offering $3 premium cocktails. Katie O'Keefe's is the welcoming, warm hangout you've been looking for. Come into Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. Sentinel and Big Sky clash in a crosstown matchup Friday at Missoula County Public Stadium. The Spartans trying to rebound from last week's heartbreaking defeat, a 39-36 home loss to Butte that was sealed with a field goal at the buzzer. That kick handed Sentinel their first loss of the season. Big Sky showed its toughness in a win over Bozeman earlier this season, but that's a lone victory in 5 games so far for the Eagles.
After its first 3-game winning streak to start a season since 1987, Hellgate suffered its first loss last week at the hands of number 3 Helena High, 42-20. The Knights will look to bounce back tonight against the Kalispell Glacier team that blasted Big Sky 63-35 last week.
Paced by 9 aces, the Montana volleyball team earned its first sweep of the season and its first Big Sky Conference victory, beating Eastern Washington in 3 sets during homecoming week. Montana led by at least 6 points in all 3 sets, and the 14-point margin to victory in the second set, which is Montana's largest lead of the season.
Montana State volleyball team earned a 4-set victory over defending Big Sky champ Idaho Thursday night in Bozeman. MSU senior Alyssa Rizzo finished with a match-high 21 digs, giving her MSU's career record with 1,720 digs in her career. She passes former Roundup standout Candace Kelly for Montana State's all-time digs record.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Friday. You know what that means. It's high school football, people across the state of Montana. Absolutely. Tootell, Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83, and see you online at kurtzpolaris.com. Coulter, it is time for our Prep Extra segment. It's brought to us by the Farmer State Bank. Farmer State Bank make us your Montana bank since 1907. Coulter, there's a number of intriguing games at the AA level. The biggest game in the state is going to be played in Butte, where Helena Capital is headed to Butte to take on the 5-0 Butte Bulldogs. They're the only 5-0 team in the state, by the way, because Billings West had a bye last week, so they are only 4-0, one of only 2 undefeateds. But Helena Capital, very good football team in their own right. So that's a big, big game. Helena High, by the way, hosting Kalispell Flathead. And then in Missoula, crosstown rivalry between the Big Sky Eagles and Sentinel Spartans. Sentinel obviously 4-1 and one of the top teams in the state as well. My question to you, Coulter, is we are at the halfway point, basically, of the high school season. You know, let's take Big Sky and Sentinel, for instance. Sentinel 4-1, the Eagles 1-4. And, you know, anything can happen in a rivalry game like this. But with 15 teams now in AA, and the new configuration of the playoffs, in which everybody's going to the playoffs,
right?
And really you're just playing for seeding, you know, at this point. What is riding on these games? I mean, you're trying to get better. Obviously, you want to get, you know, as good a seed as you can and try and give yourself, you know, perceptibly the easiest path and some home games and that kind of thing. But if you are, the head coach of one of these football teams, what are you saying to your team about sort of the long view of the season? I mean, you're probably saying nothing to your team, right? You're talking about just this game and just this opponent. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, what is riding on this?
Well, I think it's just about getting better every single week. And I think the Big Sky Eagles are a perfect example. They had a breakthrough week 2 and they beat Bozeman. They've been in almost every game that they've played, but they're sitting here at 1-4. But I can almost surely tell you that if you're a team from the East, like when this playoff starts and you have this crossover, some of the teams from the East are not going to want to play Big Sky in the first round.
Yeah.
And I think this Big Sky Sentinel matchup is interesting because Big Sky dominated the city landscape for so long. Sentinels then now reached even playing ground, even footing with Big Sky, maybe even a little bit better these last 3 years. And then Hellgate was irrelevant most of the decade and now is relevant again. And they beat Big Sky for the first time in a really long time earlier this year. So now you have 3 Missoula teams that are a little bit more competitive. But the Big Sky Sentinel games have been really, really, I mean, you think about the back and forth that happened a couple years ago, and Levi Janicaro was a senior, and then he basically has a 4th down conversion into a touchdown that won the game in the regular season. But then by the playoffs, the Big Sky Eagles are the 2 seed, and the Sentinel Spartans are the 7 seed. But then you're basically playing a neutral site playoff game because it's an in-town game, and Sentinel goes out and upsets them. But that was revenge for 2 years earlier when Sentinel was the higher-seeded team and Big Sky upset them. So these two teams have met in the playoffs plenty of times, or not plenty of times, but a couple times in the last handful of years, and it's been really close games the last 4 or 5 years as well. So I think it really is one of those anything can happen. And as much as things change, as much as they still stay the same, right? Sentinel's way more competitive than 15 years ago, but the identities of the program are very similar to what they've always been. Big Sky is a tough team. They're a hard-nosed team.
Yep.
And Sentinel is a flashy team, and they've had some great athletes. And back in the day when almost everybody in Montana was playing the tough style, Sentinel had a real hard time because Sentinel's one of the first teams to run anything in AA out of the gun. They were one of the first teams to do any sort of spread stuff.
Yeah.
And when they first started doing that, guys like Jack Johnson and Gary Eckergen and Ron Lebsock were like, well, yes, please, we'll hold the ball for an entire quarter. If you guys want to throw it all over the place, we will use all 30 seconds of the play clock every time, and we will run dive right at you. And Sentinel would lose like every week 21-10 because they would have the ball for 4 minutes. Yeah. Coach Eck used to straight up say, hey, guys, let's figure out a way to have the ball for a quarter against Sentinel. Because we know that if we can get 1 3 and out, we can just go sit on it for 10 full minutes. Yeah. And now, though, everybody's spreading it out a lot more, and Sentinel's a lot more competitive. And Dane Oliver's done a great job of taking that same athleticism and the spread style and infiltrating some toughness into the program too. And Big Sky as well. I mean, Big Sky used to be 2 tight end, fullback, and a tailback. You got 1 receiver on the field.
Yeah.
Cloud of dust over and over and over again. Matt Johnson's done a good job of just catering the offense to his personnel. And now Big Sky runs a little bit more spread stuff, and they have a couple actually real deal receivers. If they can just figure out a way to get those guys the ball in the perimeter, they could be pretty darn good. But I guess what I'm saying is the Sentinel is 4-1, and that's a testament to their fortitude, because considering how many close games they lost last year, it would be easy for them to fold. But on the other hand, they got to keep it rolling, because they do have a little bit of momentum now, and they've sort of overcome those demons of a year ago. Whereas Big Sky, they've been playing pretty well. They just haven't had the breakthrough, except for against Bozeman.
Yeah, they beat Bozeman. They've lost 2 very close games on this season.
They got routed by West early, then they beat Bozeman, and then Hellgate got out on them, got up early, and then they kind of rallied a little bit, but Hellgate handled them pretty good. But Big Sky's been in the mix. But then last week, you got to figure out the adjustment, because last week they gave up 63 points.
Yeah.
I would reckon that that's the school record for points allowed in a game at Big Sky. I mean, I cannot imagine that any Big Sky team ever allowed 63 points. So we'll see where they're at. But this is going to be a fun crosstown game tonight, because, again, it still is. I mean, I still think that even though these teams are 4 games apart in the standings, they're not that far apart in their talent.
Yes.
Anybody can win this game tonight.
It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. This has been our Prep Extra segment. It's brought to us by the Farmer State Bank. Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Let's take a quick break. On the other side, our friend Carolyn on a Friday. Oh, man. Love talking with Carolyn. Chick who doesn't know sports. Right after this, Coulter, before we go, though, can we hook the people up?
We're hooking them up all day, every day.
Send them downtown and get them some sandwich, get them some drinks. Tell them about what Warden Market is going to give to them right here.
6-pack and a sandwich. So it sounds a little vague, but it makes sense when you get down there. You can go to get any sandwich you want up to a $10 value. You can get any 6-pack or combination of beer for a $10 value, especially getting $20 at Warden's Market. But we want you to go down there and have the experience, because that's one thing that people are missing this day and age. You can order your groceries online. You can order everything online.
Yep.
Go to Warden's Market. It's a cool place. It's the oldest grocery store in all of Missoula. It's one of the oldest buildings in all of Missoula, and they have so many specialty items that you literally can't get anywhere else. So go in there, talk to the guys, say, hey, what's good? This is the kind of beer I like. Show me some of the good beers, because they have the best beer selection in town. So go ask one of the dudes in the blue aprons, and they'll show you around. They have experts in all their departments, and then you can get the sandwiches. I know you like going with the sandwiches that they make, and they sell them by the inch.
By the inch, absolutely.
I think it's $1.75 an inch, so you can get yourself, 4 or 5 inches, pretty hearty, thick sandwich.
I'm wondering about 4 or 5 feet. Just load it up.
The things are. I mean, they make the sandwich like 4 feet.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
They're delicious. Or you can get a custom-made sandwich, whatever you want. But just go down there and let them show you around, because they got great hospitality. Give us a call right now, 329-1899. All you got to do is give David your name. He'll give a call down to Warden's. They will relay the information, and you will get your weekend started off right with a 6-pack and a sandwich from Warden's Market. Warden's Market, Missoula's oldest grocery store.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
At the Montana Club, our goal is to create a menu of mouth-watering food with variety to satisfy any craving. From the garden-fresh ingredients in our salads to our succulent, perfectly grilled Montana Club Angus steaks, we take pride in every detail that goes into preparing your food. Top off your meal with a premium cocktail, wine, or microbrew. Come as you are and satisfy your craving with our home-style breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Jayco and Rangish Brothers end-of-the-year clearance event is going on now. Our entire lot is on sale, so if you've been waiting for a smoking hot deal on fifth wheels, campers, toy haulers, and motorhomes, there is no better time to buy than now. Save big on a Jayco J-Flight Bunkhouse SLX with payments as low as $99 per month OAC. Or get huge savings on a 2019 Jayco Eagle fifth wheel, starting at only $28,750. Don't miss our final sales event of the year. Only where a handshake means something. Rangish Brothers RV Center.
Hey everybody, here with my good friend Josh from the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, if I've been in an accident, how much is it going to cost me to hire you?
Well, we take cases on a contingency fee. And what that means for you is that if you're hurt in an accident, we only get paid if you make a recovery. You'll never owe us anything out of pocket.
What about the call for a consultation?
That's not a problem. We don't charge anything for an initial consultation, so you have absolutely nothing to risk by calling us.
If you're injured in a car accident, call the Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
Donald Rivard Jr. is a disabled veteran of the U.S. Army living in beautiful Florence, Montana. Don needs the help of his community to offset the cost of a kidney transplant he will be having soon. Montana Branded is hosting a raffle now through October 17th with tons of great prizes to help Don during this time. Purchase a raffle ticket for a chance at prizes like half a hog, a custom log bench, and more. Contact Cynthia at 360-742-7747 or search Don Rivard Kidney Transplant on Facebook to help today.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. If you loved our season opener, Go Please Go, or even if you missed it but still want to see the rest of the season, you're in luck. Season ticket packages are still on sale for just $70. That's $70 for 3 more innovative and exciting shows, including our production of War of the Worlds in January. Go to montanarep.com to get your tickets today.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tootell and Colter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Ah, yes. Our favorite time of the week. At least one of them. We get to talk to our friend Carolyn, chick who doesn't know about sports. Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. And it is time once again to welcome in our friend Carolyn to the mix. She was with you earlier, Colter, so off we go.
Hey, you know what time it is? It's time for your favorite Tootell Nuanez segment of the week. A chick who doesn't know about sports. Yeah, we shortened the name. It's no longer a sports update from a chick who doesn't know about sports. That's too much. It's just a chick who doesn't know sports. Here she is. Carolyn, hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Living the dream. The sports update, or rather a chick who doesn't know about sports, brought to you by the Missoula Winery and Event Center. Remember, they are closed now for opening tasting room hours, but you can still go taste out there anytime. You just got to give them a call. We'll give you the number and everything like that on the other side. In the meantime, what's going on in your world of sports, Carolyn?
Well, I got some news this week that just really grinds my gears.
Great. Can't wait.
I saw...
Do I hit the beep button ready?
No, I will not swear. Well, I might. So
we're out a month and a half straight of having to beep these things out, so we'll see.
We'll see. Well, I can't promise anything. A California law was passed that college players can be paid while they're playing for a university.
Monetizing their own image.
Monetizing their own image.
Right.
Which means, is this only for video games? Or is this for...
This means that they could sell their own, like say you're number 15 and you're playing at UCLA, you can sell your own jersey. I don't think you actually necessarily get money if the school sells your jersey.
Got it.
You can sell your own autograph.
I'm against this.
Why?
Well, you can sell your own autograph on eBay. I don't care. But
you can't if you're an NCAA athlete because you'd be declared ineligible.
Okay. Well, listen, they're getting paid to play. It's called a scholarship.
They are.
And
it's more than just a scholarship, too. This is the most fundamental misunderstanding of college athletics in the United States of America. We won't give you too much detail, but almost every single Power 5 conference offers what they call full cost of attendance. So if you go to UCLA, there's a price for your tuition, your room and board, and that's what your scholarship covers. But then every single school has on the bottom of their website what a full cost of attendance is to let parents know, here's the extra money my kid's going to probably need to live in L.A. or Columbus, Ohio, or wherever it might be. So the kids at schools like USC and Ohio State and Penn State and all the big schools, they get a stipend check outside of their scholarships. So they straight up get cash money to do whatever they want with.
Yeah.
At Ohio State, you get $1,440 a month. That's more money than a lot of people make, period.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
That's like, and if it's you already got your room and board paid for.
Right.
I mean, if I had $1,440 a month in college to spend on whatever I wanted, I would be dead.
Well, I would hope. I mean, I would hope you might use it for food or.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you could eat a lot of food and still have a lot of beer money. I mean,
know,
you eat $500 worth of food, like you could still have $900 to go spend on whatever you want. That's a lot of trouble to get into.
Right. So I feel like that is ridiculous. I think these players should be grateful that they are. I mean, they've got this amazing ability that got them a full ride scholarship to an amazing school.
Right.
And that to me that should be their paycheck.
So what? So the contrasting argument to this would be that if you play football at Ohio State, you are playing for a entity that basically generates about $75 million a year in revenue.
Yeah.
You're risking your life in front of 110,000 people. I mean, you could break your neck and die. It's a very low chance, but I mean, you could certainly break your leg and have long-term ramifications for that. So if you're only getting paid, say, what amounts to about $35,000 to $40,000 for working for a multi-million-dollar corporation, is that fair? What say you?
Yeah, because you are getting paid.
And because you're 19, right?
And you're 19, and you're going to college for free.
Totally.
You could break your neck doing a keg stand. Trust me. I almost did once. Just kidding. I never did. But
that's true.
Like, I just feel, and I do get these colleges, these universities make so much money off of the athletics. I totally understand that. But you're getting paid to go to school. So
it's a really compelling argument because I think that there's validity to both sides, right?
Yeah.
Like on one side, you really are getting a phenomenal opportunity that so many people don't get. And most of the time you did earn it. So it's not as if you don't deserve it. But then on the other hand, it is kind of crazy to think the exploitation, like especially when it comes to college football. Like these guys are at it from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week during the season. And it is really, really hard on you physically and mentally. I just always think about, like, especially at the level of football we primarily cover, is it worth it? Because it's great. I mean, these kids in Missoula, they get a lot of glory to go run out on the field, 26,000 people screaming. But then, like, that poor kid, Gavin Crow, the second game of the year, he just shattered his leg. And, I mean, it was horrific. And he's getting taken off the field in an ambulance and, like, it's awful. You know, I mean, his leg is going to be messed up forever. And, like, he's just playing for the Montana Grizzlies. Like, when this is over,
but
it's
that
over.
can happen anywhere.
No, it totally can.
I feel for him, and that's really stinks for him. And
But it's just it's such a 50-50. It's such a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give you my opinion because everybody cares so much. And I'm sure everyone was wondering.
Well, this is an incredibly valid argument because I think it really is one of the most pertinent arguments going on in sports right now because, it really is. The other thing where this falls is just the Title IX stuff because the Ohio State football team does make $75 million a year. They do play in front of 110,000 people every week. Ohio State also has 30 other varsity sports. The women's rowing team is not making a dime.
Right.
You know, I mean, they are taking some of that football money.
Right.
And so then where does it lie? You know, if the rower girl can make money off her autograph, can she sell it? I think so, sure. But also, I don't know. It's a conundrum for sure because not all sports are created equal in the amount of revenue they bring in as well.
Exactly. So I still think if you earned a scholarship to USC or Ohio State or any of these amazing schools, you get to leave with a degree from one of these amazing schools, and you should just be happy with that.
Totally.
Greedy bastards. Just kidding.
The monetization of this, if they can do it on an individual basis, I think it's less of a slippery slope than if the schools do it. Because if you say, okay, schools can pay anybody anything, now you have a straight free-for-all.
Agree. 100%.
Because like Notre Dame and Alabama and Florida State and these schools, I mean, they're going to be offering kids hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. So then the mom in me says, okay, if they do this, let's say this goes through and these kids need to not be able to touch it until they're 35 and responsible.
I mean,
because I had roommates who would get like student loan checks and buy, CD players and all sorts of stuff. Like that's not what your student loan check is.
Oh yeah, no, I had roommates that used to go get straight tattoos.
Yeah. So you need to
scholarship money.
With that needs to also come maybe some sort of lessons in financial savings and whatnot.
Totally. Yeah, I mean I got a couple buddies who I just actually hung out with last weekend who both played for the Grizz and then played in the NFL, and they made the mutual decision that they were only going to touch their signing bonus, and they gave their paychecks to their mothers.
Very smart.
And now they are both retired from the NFL in their late 20s. They have years and years and years of life to live, and they could be fine if they wanted to be.
And their moms are driving Range Rovers.
Right. And I mean, and they probably have a couple mil in the bank each.
Good.
You know,
That's awesome.
It's great.
Yeah.
And they were never starved to death either. You know, they were just living off the $60,000 signing bonus or whatever, which is still just fine.
Yeah.
Great money. Okay. Well, one subject down, 7 minutes in. What else you got?
All right. Well, this one's a big one. Ric Flair from the WWE.
Oh, you don't got to tell me I'm the biggest pro wrestler fan you ever met.
He has challenged Hulk Hogan to a fight.
Oh, no.
He's got a new pacemaker, so he is ready to roll.
We do not need this.
Yeah.
Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, two of my iconic symbols in my life. I do not want to see either one of these guys die in their old age.
They're probably going to die in the ring
That's
when
what
they
I'm
try and
saying.
fight.
We don't
I
need
mean,
this.
ratings will be through the roof. But
Yes.
he got off a plane in L.A. and immediately told TMZ that he wants to fight Hulk this weekend. And he said, "Hey, Hulk, we're drinking. I'm sorry, we're not drinking. We're fighting."
Oh, my goodness.
So
your next assignment, before you even watch the Dennis Rodman 30 for 30, you have to watch the Ric Flair.
Okay.
It is absolutely hilarious.
Do you think they'll be wearing Depends under their little wrestling underwear?
Hulk Hogan's still actually in pretty darn good shape. Ric Flair, not so much.
Right. No, Ric Flair's a kind of a mess. He will for sure die.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that's probably part of his plan, though. He probably wants to die in the ring.
Oh, interesting. I guess you died doing what you love to do, or whatever they say. All right, and finally, Tim Tebow.
Oh, good. Hey, let's go.
He's really not my favorite. Like, I don't know who I dislike more, Tim Tebow or Tom Brady.
Such opposite sides of the
I know.
spectrum with those two. Okay.
I just dislike both of them.
Just because
Anyway,
they're pretty or what?
No, because they're stupid. I don't know. I don't like them. I'm sorry, I don't.
It's okay to not like them. I think you just should figure out how to articulate why better.
Sometimes you just can't. It's just a
Tom
feeling.
Well, they're both pretentious, just in
Yeah.
different sides of
Yeah.
the spectrum, right? Like
Yeah.
Tom Brady's the prettiest model that ever lived, who also happens to be a quarterback.
Right, I guess.
And Tim Tebow's like Mr. Self-righteous.
Right.
I already live in heaven. I haven't even died yet.
Right. I wonder if he's still a virgin.
The question of all questions.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was that he was beat by a prisoner in a push-up contest. He's been going to prisons preaching the Lord,
gospel.
The gospel,
Yep.
and I guess there was a little push-up contest, and an inmate beat him. So he was a good sport about it, which is nice.
I mean, of all the places there's a push-up contest, I don't think you have to feel that bad if it's in prison, because
Right,
that guy probably
he
does
does-
500 push-ups a day.
That's kind of what I thought. Like, he probably, all he does is push-ups. So, you know. Yeah, so those are my stories.
I love it. Well, do your homework. You need to go watch the Ric Flair.
Okay.
You should watch it. Well, you shouldn't watch it with your kids. They're not quite old enough. There's way too much drinking and philandering.
Okay, well, I'll save it for after 10 p.m.
It's short, though. You would enjoy it.
Okay.
These things have way more drama than your little Sunset Soap Star or whatever.
I
you
just
watch.
don't have cable, so I don't know where to watch these.
Netflix.
Oh, okay.
ESPN Plus.
Oh, okay.
Get the trial.
Yeah.
It's only $5 a month. I'll pay it for you.
You will?
Yeah, it should be your bonus for
All right.
Sports Update.
For the sports update. Okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
Sports Update from a chick who doesn't know about sports, or rather just a chick who doesn't know sports. Brought to you by the Missoula Winery and Event Center. Give them a call if you want to book a tasting, 406-830-3296. Also a great place for your holiday party. Whatever you need to do out there, that gets taken care of. No more open tasting room hours for the winter, but if you give them a call out there, they can set you up if you want to come on out, try some delicious Tattoo Girl wine, throw a party, throw an event, whatever you need. Missoula Winery and Event Center, 406-830-3296.
Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula is like your paint doctor. They take the pain out of painting. Don't trust your home to anything less than professional PPG paints from Garden City Paint and Glass. Go to visualizecolors.com. Scan in your room photo to see what color combinations will look best before painting. That's visualizecolors.com. Featuring professional PPG paints. Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula. Across from the Southside McDonald's at 3217 Brooks.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Katie O'Keefe's has been a neighborhood favorite in the corner of the Stevens Center for years. But if you haven't been into Katie's lately, come on in and make sure to turn left. The downstairs bar is completely remodeled with one of the biggest, best spaces anywhere in Missoula to watch games, play games, and hang out with all your friends. Katie O'Keefe's is your horse racing simulcast headquarters in Missoula. Come into Katie's and turn left for cribbage, darts, pool, and much, much more. Katie O'Keefe's, where the cocktails are always cold and the people are always friendly.
The big skies are open. Go wild with Opportunity Reward Checking. Go ahead, jump, dance, shout. Opportunity Reward Checking will make you do that. Go wild when you get your 1% cash back on qualified debit card purchases. It all starts with an Opportunity Reward Checking account from Opportunity Bank. Visit a branch today to get started. Then go wild and spend your 1% cash back however you want. Go wild with Reward Checking from Opportunity Bank. Some restrictions may apply. Member FDIC.
The fish are done biting, the boat's all packed away, and it's time to get back to what really matters. Watching sports and drinking beer. Whether your letters are NHL, NBA, NCAA, MLB, catch your game at the Desperado Sports Tavern, Missoula's sports headquarters. With 32 HD TVs, there's no way you'll miss a minute of every touchdown, three-pointer, or seventh inning stretch this fall. Wash away last week's loss with a cold pint from local Montana brewery. Or crack open a classic if that's more your thing. Cheer on your team at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark Fork Law Offices. Our Missoula firm specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. There are many unknowns when injured or disabled. The other side is fighting hard. You should too. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez. Here's a little sports news for you. Sentinel and Big Sky clashing a crosstown rivalry game tonight at Missoula County Public Stadium. The Spartans will try to rebound from last week's heartbreaker, a 39-36 home loss to Butte. It was sealed with a buzzer-beating field goal. The kick handed Sentinel his first loss of the season, and its fifth by a score of less than 2 over the last 2 seasons. Big Sky showed its toughness in a win over Bozeman earlier this year, but that is the Eagles' only loss thus far, or only win thus far.
After its first 3-game win streak to start a season since 1987, Hellgate suffered its first loss last week at the hands of number 3 Helena High, 42-20. The Knights will look to bounce back tonight against Kalispell Glacier, a team that blasted Big Sky 63-35 last week.
Paced by 9 aces, Montana earned its first sweep of the season and its first Big Sky Conference victory, beating Eastern Washington in 3 sets during homecoming week.
Volleyball.
That's right, volleyball. Yes. Montana led by at least 6 points in all 3 sets, and the 14-point margin of victory in the second set served as Montana's largest lead of the season in volleyball.
Montana State volleyball team earned a 4-set victory over defending Big Sky champion Idaho Thursday night in Bozeman. The news of the afternoon, MSU senior Alyssa Rizzo finished with a match-high 21 digs, giving her MSU's all-time career record with 1,720. She surpasses Candace Kelly.
ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Welcome to hour number 2. It is Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Hi. How are you? Great to be with you on a Friday afternoon. Thanks for letting us walk you down the aisle into your weekend. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the first hour, you can check it out on the podcast. The podcast available next to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. The Tootell and Nuanez podcast available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And when you search the Tootell and Nuanez podcast, you can also check out our brand new FCS Speculators Betting Podcast. It is available, and it is the only source out there that we're aware of for betting lines and numbers and insight on the gaming side at the FCS level. So we're very happy to have that officially up and rocking and rolling episode 2 out now.
If you're a visual rather than audio learner, you can also go to SkylineSportsMT.com. Check out our Big Sky Bets weekly deal. And now that Ryan and I are doing this FCS podcast, FCS Speculators podcast, we are collaborating with Sam Lewis, who's our contributor for Skyline Sports. And so our picks are very much the same. We had a little bit of Sam and I had a little bit of an argument over the UC Davis, North Dakota game. So you can go check out that at Skyline Sports as well as listen to the podcast and compare and contrast. But other than that, pretty confident in our picks this week. You
and I were the same in all but one, I think, of the against the spread. We were a little different on some of the overs or some of the totals, but when we sit down there, I don't know if we're talking each other into it or whatever it is, but there's some numbers out there that you're like, yeah, I think this. I feel good about this. I feel confident about this. So you gotta go listen to the podcast.
The teams that we believe to be good, which I think there's no real sort of fence sitters right now, except for maybe Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
The teams we believe to be good have very favorable matchups this week. I mean, North Dakota's solid, but UC Davis is going to have a bounce back after last week. And you talk about Jake Mayer going against that blitzing defense, advantage UC Davis. Montana at home against,
just tell them to go
I'm just saying go listen to the podcast. I'm just saying the matchups are favorable, though, for the Grizz, the Cats, Weber State, all the way down. The only one that was really kind of a fence-sitting matchup was Eastern Washington, Sac State, and that in itself could be a really entertaining game. If you're a football junkie, you want to watch some game, watch that game, because that's going to be two great quarterbacks, two great offenses, and who knows? The defenses, if anybody's defense even shows up, because why would you want to? That might be a 65-55 game.
Right. Okay. If you want to call 329-1899, all guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. Coulter, we're going to have J.J. Koski, who, if you don't know who J.J. Koski is, he is a wide receiver for Cal Poly. And if you know anything about Cal Poly, you're going, well, why in the world would you be talking to a wide receiver from the Cal Poly Mustangs? Well, the reason is simple. J.J. Koski, first of all, highly recruited kid out of high school, was recruited by a bunch of different schools, both FCS and FBS coming out of high school, elected to go to Cal Poly, well, because he's a smarty pants. Okay, we could start there.
And where's a better combination of academic prowess and awesome college experience? I mean, San Luis Obispo is amazing. It's like I heard before I went there, people said it's Bozeman with a beach. Well, the mountains aren't quite as majestic, but it's also never -20. So it's even better than that in certain elements because you got wine country, beer country, and the beach and mountains all the way around. It's a beautiful place.
Well, we'll play you our interview with J.J. Koski here in just a moment. A great kid, really fun to talk to him. Enjoyed it a lot. Obviously, Cal Poly hosting Montana State tomorrow. By the way, just in case you're not aware, 6 o'clock Mountain, the kickoff for that game. So an evening game on the West Coast, becoming a night game here in the Mountain Time Zone. So 6 p.m. the kickoff there for the Cal Poly Bobcat game tomorrow. But Coulter, we had talked about who's the guy that we are most looking forward to playing that's going to be an opponent of the Cats or the Grizz this weekend. For the Montana-Idaho State game, I think the obvious answer would be Mitch Goller. I think Mitch Goller is a phenomenal talent, obviously formerly a professional baseball player, drafted baseball player, and so he's always fun to watch. But the guy I'm most interested in watching is Matt Struck, because he is the biggest mystery to me. He's come out, 6 touchdowns on 14 completions last week is just mind-boggling. But he is, a guy who came out of a junior college that didn't even play at the junior college, and so it was sort of
he
a diamond in
himself
the rough,
on practice field.
Right to Idaho State. But if he's the real deal, it would be an unbelievable get for Rob Fennessy and his staff. So, and he's the guy that I'm most looking forward to, because certainly Montana, particularly in Washington Grizzly Stadium, is going to be his most difficult challenge thus far. For sure. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays tomorrow. That's the guy I'm looking forward to watch play.
The Matt Struck saga is just absolutely fascinating, because I remember the first time I saw Victor Viramontes on film, the Montana State had just offered Cam Sutton, and then Montana came in and offered him too, a big receiver from Norco, California. His quarterback was a kid named Victor Viramontes. I was texting with Tim Cramsey, the former offensive coordinator at Montana State. I said, what about this Norco quarterback? He goes, oh, man, we're the first one to offer him, but then I got avalanched because Kevin Sumlin and Jim Harbaugh and P.J. Fleck all came to the table. He said, Montana State didn't really have a spot to sit at that table. So Victor Viramontes ended up going to Michigan, hating it, and then decommitting, going to Minnesota, hating that, coming back to Riverside Community College. In the meantime, Travis Johnson, who's now at Montana State, breaks his foot at Oregon, gets beat out by Dakota Prukop. Then during the Mark Hilfrich saga, Justin Herbert takes over the starting job. So Johnson's just buried. So he said, okay, I'm going to start over, go to Riverside Community College. In the meantime, so now Viramontes transfers in over Johnson, so he doesn't have a chance. Viramontes is going to be the guy. And in the meantime, Matt Struck was the guy that was on the roster. So now he's buried behind two former four-star recruits. How do you even get any playing time? But Mike Ferreter, who's the offensive coordinator at Idaho State, he told me, hey, I was talking to their coaches, and he said, well, this kid's actually the best thrower we got. He's just not a freak athlete. The Viramontes saga evolved even further to the point where then he switched to defense, committed to Nebraska to play linebacker, decommitted, and now plays linebacker at UNLV. How did this happen? He was once upon a time supposed to play quarterback for Jim Harbaugh. Now he's playing linebacker in Las Vegas. Who knows?
Figure, right.
Just like Travis Johnson was supposed to be the heir apparent, the next Dennis Dixon at Oregon, and now he's playing wide receiver at Montana State. How do these things happen? Matt Struck, the guy who didn't get a single game rep, is the one who's the starting quarterback at a D1 school in Idaho State. It's amazing how these recruiting stories play out. But as far as the guy I'm the most excited to see, I've only actually seen Mitch Guller live and in person twice, but every time I watch him on the stream, man, he's a ridiculous athlete. I mean, watch number 2 if you're going to the game tomorrow. His fluidity combined with his size, combined with his jumping ability, combined with his ball skills, he's just crazy, man. And you have to think, this guy took 4 or 5 years off from playing football to play minor league baseball in the Phillies system. And then when it was all over, he gets in the car and drives to Pocatello, where his brother Tanner is living, and goes into Rob Fennessy. I guess it was Mike Kramer at the time, and says, hey, can I get a shot? Can I get a shot? Okay, walks on, boom, he's All-Big Sky first year. Second year, he's first-team All-Big Sky. This guy's been first-team All-Big Sky 2 years in a row. There's only been 35 players in Big Sky history that have been 3-time first-team All-Big Sky. He could do that again this year.
The other guy I'm looking forward to playing or watching, if you're talking about the Montana State game, is this guy that we're going to hear from right now, J.J. Koski. Why are you a wide receiver in a triple option offense, and why does anybody care? Let me tell you something. If you're a guy who's getting looks in a triple option offense as a wide receiver, you got to be pretty good. And J.J. Koski certainly is that. He's a senior wide receiver for Cal Poly and a tremendous athlete, and they're throwing the ball significantly more now with him as the wide receiver than they have before, even though they're still in the triple option. So here you go, our conversation with senior wide receiver from Cal Poly. Get you set for the Montana State Cal Poly game tomorrow, J.J. Koski. We go now to the Regis Brothers RV phone line. We welcome in senior wide receiver for the Cal Poly Mustangs, J.J. Koski. J.J., thanks so much for taking the time out today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Very happy to have you on. You are a kid who has a really interesting story, and I don't know all the reasons why. This is one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, because this is really interesting to me. You were recruited by a lot of teams coming out of high school, UC Davis, Montana, Nevada, San Jose State, among others, coming out of San Ramon Valley High School. You decide to go to Cal Poly. Obviously, Cal Poly, an outstanding academic institution, but as a wide receiver, going to a school that runs the triple option, a little bit of a head-scratcher from a decision-making standpoint, football-wise. What led you to go to Cal Poly?
Yeah, I think that I could come here and kind of make a name for myself, even though we do run the triple option. But I think over the past couple of years, I've been, super productive in the role I kind of had with our team. If it's, returning punts, returning kicks and whatnot, or, getting the ball on reverses, on a couple running games we do with me, and also in the pass games. I think that, coming here, obviously, it's a great academic institute in Cal Poly, and I go to the business school here, so it's a great deal all around. But also in the football game, I have a big role in our offense, and I think that it's kind of worked out for the best of both worlds for me.
Did you have any following of Cal Poly earlier on, mid-2000s?
Not really. And I'm a Bay Area guy, so I, was a big Cal Bears, Stanford fan. So, not much. I just knew that I always knew about it. And, when I kind of got into high school, I kind of started to learn more about what they're about.
I just, when I look at your numbers, I've been covering the FCS for about 13 years now. And when Cal Poly, before Coach Walsh got there, when Rich Ellerson was still the head coach, but they were still running the triple option, they had a receiver named Ramses Barden, and he was maybe the most dominant guy I've ever seen. And basically, it was a similar role to what you got. If you run the play action triple option, then you chuck it up. And he scored something like 50 touchdowns during his career. He went on to play for the New York Giants. But you've been kind of the first guy that's really had that true breakout, solidified, multiple-year role in that offense. So I think it's a cool and interesting parallel. But take us through just what it takes from a mental standpoint, because oftentimes you are just going to be blocking on the perimeter. But then when you're called upon your time, I mean, it's going to be a deep shot most of the time. So what's it like to balance the responsibilities in the offense for a guy like you?
Yeah, it was definitely hard to grasp that role coming out of high school. We ran a completely different offense, but you just kind of got to be ready when your name's called. Like you said, you got to go make a play. You can't really think about it. You don't have time to catch those intermediate routes and kind of get going. You got to go when your number's called in our offense. You got to go make a play, especially at the wideout position. So, I kind of pride myself on just being ready and mentally throughout the game. You got to be locked in on every play, even if it's when we're running the ball. We take pride in our blocking on the outside, but yeah, it's definitely you definitely got to have a different mindset, knowing that you're only going to get limited shots, so you got to take advantage of all those.
Take us back to the game at Southern Utah. We were talking to Jeff Choate yesterday, Montana State head coach, and he said, watching the film, you literally were getting sick because the camera was swinging so hard because it was so windy. He said when you watch it from the 22 wide angle that it's almost hard to see what's going on, because he's like, I wouldn't have wanted to be on top of that lift elevator because this thing was about to fall off the top of the thing. What were the elements like for you guys on Saturday?
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. I never played anything like that. But going in and getting a win like that was big for us in our program, and it was you kind of had to be there to really know the elements. But if the wind was swirling, I was back there trying to field a punt, and I had no idea where the ball was going. So it definitely was an atmosphere I never played in. But anytime you can go on a road, and in this league and get a win, you're going to take it. So if it was a tornado, wind, whatever, we were happy to come out there with a win.
Wide receiver J.J. Koski for Cal Poly joining us. Cal Poly hosting Montana State this Saturday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time kickoff there in San Luis Obispo. JJ, when you talk about this particular year, though, and you go, Joe Prothero obviously, graduating last year, and even though it's obviously still going to be and is always going to be a triple option offense, there's actually more in the passing game going on. I mean, you are exploding as a wide receiver this season in the Cal Poly offense in the passing game. What's it been like, though, to have kind of a new quarterback back there and a little bit more opportunity, at least in the pass game?
It's been exciting, yeah, definitely. Our offense kind of has a different dynamic to it this year. We still pride ourselves on the same fundamentals and foundation that we've had in the past. But I think we showed since day one. We played USD at home, and we kind of took some people back that we can make some stuff happen through the air, definitely. And I think that we've carried that forward and hoping to kind of know that we got a pretty good balance within our offense and within our system.
We had Tim Walsh on, your head coach, last week. And he's always been just a very nice guy to us and great to talk to. But also, when you see him, you're like, well, is this guy a head coach or is he a Marine? Like, what do we got here? And I'm wondering what it's like to play with him play for him, because he is a really nice guy, but also you can see a certain toughness factor coming through with Coach Walsh too.
Oh yeah, you definitely spot on with that haircut too. So he's
exactly
he's kind of got an edgy look to him. But yeah, the thing about Coach is he's always a straight shooter. He's going to be straight with us as a team and where we're at, and it's kind of always been how he is. So it's nice to have a guy like that at the helm who's not going to he's going to shoot you straight and kind of going to tell you what you're up against each week. So he definitely keeps our heads on straight going into each game weekend, and each opponent kind of really evaluates each team very well, I think.
So old school, I think he might be the only head coach left in America that doesn't wear a headset during a game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's just locked in. He doesn't need a headset. He doesn't know what the calls are.
Just down doing it.
I love it. Well, you talk about Coach Walsh's toughness, and Jeff Choate has instilled a similar mindset at Montana State. And talking to Coach Choate yesterday, he was basically saying, hey, we relish the opportunity to go play a team that wants to play physical football like us, because it's just going to come down to fortitude. It's going to come down to toughness, who can outlast the other team. As a team on your guys' side of this thing, what's your mentality going into this game, and do you guys relish this sort of matchup as well?
Yeah, we're excited. This week we've been kind of preaching it's going to be one of those, hard-nosed games, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be down to the wire. We're really fired up for this game. I think it's big for both teams. Starting off the Big Sky, we're both 1-0, and this is kind of the step. This is going to be a big game for us on this side. So we're hoping, it's going to be hard-nosed, hard-fought. I think it's going to be a tight one down the wire. So we're kind of going in with that mindset this week that we're going to have to give it our all for four full quarters, and if it takes a little extra, it takes a little extra. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one.
Obviously, when you guys run the triple option, it's a unique challenge for anybody that plays you, and that's certainly part of the advantage of doing it. Montana State defensively really hangs their hat, though, on their front seven as well, and again, probably why people expect a bit of a street fight in this one. But when you look and see the film and kind of see what Montana State is and does up front, what stands out to you?
Well, not only are they athletic, but they're pretty big. You look at their front seven, especially a linebacker. They got some athletes back there. So, even watching film on them, and we played at Weber State had a good front seven too. So I think those two fronts are pretty similar in terms of athleticism and size. So I think we got a good test against them earlier this season. So. We can't say enough about their. They got a lot of guys who got big motors on their side of the defense. So they're not going to be. They're going to be pursuing to the ball all game, and it's going to be we got our work cut out for us this week.
It's interesting the chess match and the X's and O's that go into so many different sorts of football games. And just talking to Coach Walsh over the years and having covered him for so long, he always says, hey, we're just going to take what the defense gives us. We're going to see what happens on Saturday. So when you're preparing, how do you balance that? I mean, what is the process like when maybe you're not going to know necessarily the look Montana State gives you right out the gate, so you're not necessarily going to know how the triple option is going to be able to operate against whatever look they might give you?
Yeah, I think that's I think each week we kind of got an idea what teams are going to play, but you never really know, right? You're just kind of got an idea in your head of what you're going to come out and look at. But we got a lot of guys on offense who's played a lot of downs and seen a lot of fronts, so. Just being adaptable during the game is the biggest thing for us as offense. We don't ever want to get worried. We know we're going to get some stuff thrown at us that we might not have seen before. But I think just being, on your toes and being adaptable during the game and being able to make adjustments is the biggest thing for us as an offense. And seeing what the defense has given us. So, yeah, like I said, I know we probably will see some stuff that we might have not seen in the past, but we just got to have our eyes right and and just go with the game plan.
Because of your big playability, because you have been so productive for several years now there, I know that there's some football on your horizon likely. And I know that's probably a goal of yours individually. Last question for you then. How do you balance that? How do you balance maybe some NFL aspirations and chasing those dreams while being in the scope of contributing to a team during your senior season?
Yeah, it's been different. I've never really thought about it too much, honestly. It's like you said, it's always been in the back of my mind, but I came here to play for Cal Poly and have a productive career here, and I think I've kind of proven that over the last 4 years. And I'm just taking it all in. We only got so many of these left on the schedule, and it's been a blast. We got a tight group this year, and like you said, I'm just trying to take it all in and worry about what I can do in this season to help us get some more W's, and I think the rest will kind of take care of itself. But yeah, it's been a different balance this year, but nothing crazy, and it's been just fun to take it all in.
Cal Poly wide receiver J.J. Koski joining us. Boys and girls, you want to have yourself some fun, enjoy yourself, go to the Cal Poly website, the football page, and take a look at J.J.'s profile pic. That is a glorious thing that you did there for the camera. We appreciate that. That is a winning smile, my friend. J.J., thanks so much for joining us. Best of luck on Saturday. Really looking forward to this football game between the Mustangs and the Cats. It's going to be a lot of fun, and best to you, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Now, let me tell you something, though. If you do go online and check out the profile pic, you will not be disappointed. I mean, that boy is going ear to ear with the grin, and I would say it may not be entirely sincere. This is what I'm talking about because I go in and I do the driver's license photo. I'm not messing around with this thing. I want to look as horrendous as I possibly can. He looks great in the photo, by the way, but let's be real, it's not honest.
That was your Burn Street Bistro Burn of the Week.
Not burning the kid. JJ was great. The photo, he's the college kid having some fun. That's what I think.
2012, before Media Day, all the Montana State Bobcats shaved the most disgusting mustaches you've ever seen. Every single one of them. 20 years from now, they're going to look back on that media guide and either think that was the greatest or dumbest decision in their lives. Probably the greatest.
Greatest. For sure the greatest. Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Quick break. We'll come back. Picks against the spread, NFL style. We do it every Friday, 5 games of the week. We will pick them for you right after this. By the way, don't look now. Top 9. A's up on the St. Louis Cardinals 3-0. And there's 2 runners on, 2 outs with the Cardinals. Their last chance at the dish. Coming down to it. Hey, have I told you about this yet? You got to go check this out. Shine Auto Detailing. Online at MissoulaAutoDetailing.com, or you can just Google auto detailing in Missoula. You can get a deluxe detail and get a free headlight restoration as well to make your winter driving more safe. That's a $75 value just for that headlight restoration. They're going to give that included in a deluxe detail. What's included? Well, it gets you the interior, the exterior. It's spotless for your whole vehicle. They will clay bar the exterior and apply ceramic coating to protect your car from winter roads, salts, and sands. It's not just about getting your vehicle to look great. It's about getting it to last and last a long time. Shine Auto Detailing. MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. They're the #1 auto detailing in Missoula. Okay, go online. Shine Auto Detailing, and then again, MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. Everything you need for winter driving. Make it safe, make your car run faster, and make it look great as well. All the things. Shine Auto Detailing.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires. Doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters. And you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up, pump it up.
Hungry? Visit the Town Pump Deli. Big dog wraps are only $3.49. While you're there, you can pick up a 24-pack of Pabst or Rainier for only $17.99. Town Pump, they've got just what you need.
Town Pump, right down the road, pump it up, oh yeah.
When your football team scores, sometimes you want to celebrate with a shot. Other times, your team might be getting whipped. You need a beer. At Katie O'Keefe's, you don't have to choose. Every Monday and Thursday from 6 to 10 p.m., come watch the NFL and enjoy a premium shot and a beer for just $6. That's right, a shot and a beer for $6. Located in the Stevens Center, Katie O'Keefe's is also offering $2 pounder cans of Rainier, PBR, and Busch Light. Monday and Thursday night football at Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
Footballs are flying, the elk are bugling, and everyone is talking about pumpkin. Here at Florence Coffee, we take pumpkin serious with our real pumpkin lattes, chais, and frappes. Made with real pumpkin that is sure to delight the senses. Also, try our all-natural pumpkin spice flavoring made from real spices and extracts. So when you get a craving for something pumpkin, be sure to stop by your nearest Florence Coffee.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
Hey everybody, Ryan Tootell, and I'm here with Josh of the Advocates Injury Law Firm. Josh, there's a lot of lawyers in this area. What makes you different?
At the Advocates, we primarily focus on injury cases. That gives us the experience and the knowledge to correctly evaluate your case and work with insurance companies and other attorneys so you get exactly what you deserve to make you whole again. We take really good care of our clients, and we're going to fight for every single dollar you deserve.
Call 640-4444 or online at montanaadvocates.com. There are a lot of lawyers. You deserve an advocate.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good evening, Ryan Tootell, Colter Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. It's high school football around the state. It is, after all, a Friday, boys and girls. And Sentinel and Big Sky clash in Missoula in a crosstown rivalry game. The Spartans are trying to rebound from last week's heartbreaker, a 39-36 home loss to Butte. Butte kicked a game-winning field goal at the buzzer to win that thing. Big Sky showed toughness in a win over Bozeman earlier this season, but that is the lone victory in 5 games so far for the Eagles.
After their first 3-game winning streak to start a season since 1987, the Hillgate Knights suffered their first loss last week at the hands of number 3 Helena High, 42-20. Hillgate will look to bounce back tonight against Kalispell Glacier, a team that blasted Big Sky 63-35 last week.
After its first paced by 9 aces, let me get to that one. Montana's volleyball team earned its first sweep of the season and the first Big Sky Conference victory, beating Eastern Washington in 3 sets during homecoming week. Montana led by at least 6 points in all 3 sets, and a 14-point margin of victory in the second set is Montana's largest in the year.
The Montana State volleyball team earned a 4-set victory over defending Big Sky champion Idaho Thursday in Bozeman. The big news, MSU senior Alyssa Rizzo finished with a match-high 21 digs, giving her Montana State's career record of 1,720 digs. She breaks the record formerly held by Candace Kelly.
And tomorrow, week 2 of the Big Sky Conference football schedule, the Grizz homecoming versus Idaho State, 1 o'clock kickoff there, and the Montana State Bobcats on the road at Cal Poly, 6 p.m. kickoff Mountain Standard Time. Boys and girls, how are you? It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Good to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you would like to listen live, you go online, 1029ESPN.com, and listen to the stream. Colter, isn't the stream great? How great is the stream?
Love it. Yeah, it's a great way to listen to the show anywhere in the world. And also, I know a lot of people are transitioning into maybe not having a traditional radio machine.
Adding to the traditional radio machine.
Right. There you go. You can listen to it on your computer, your desktop, your laptop, whatever it might be, your streaming device, your Alexa, whatever. We got you.
Listen live on the Listen Live tab at 1029ESPN.com. Thanks to Opportunity Bank. Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Colter, the Braves did finish off the Cardinals, evened up the series at 1 game apiece. Earlier today, the Houston Astros, 6-2 winners over Tampa Bay. Right now, bottom of the first inning, Minnesota, the Twins, up over the New York Yankees, 1-0. 2 outs, 1 on. There, that game on MLB Network. And when we are done here this evening, Game 2 of the Washington National Los Angeles Dodgers series here on ESPN Radio. And that game starting at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. It'll go to air, the broadcast beginning at 7 o'clock. The Dodgers winning Game 1 last night, up 1-0. Colter, it's time to pick some games against the spread, NFL style. NFL picks against the spread, brought to us by our friends at Katie O'Keefe's. At the end of this, by the way, stick around. We got a $25 bar tab to give you, thanks to Katie O'Keefe. So we'll give you that here at the end. Colter, the Seahawks game last night, this was so funny. This game opened, by the way, and this isn't one of the picks because we did pick it last night, but the game opened the Rams a 1-point favorite. And then over the course of the next, few days, it went to the Seattle Seahawks being a 1-point favorite. But it closed yesterday with the Seahawks a 1.5-point favorite, and the Seahawks won by 1. So some people got it on the number and pushed. Some people got it early and won if they were on the Seahawks. Other people picked the Seahawks to win. How disappointing would it be if you picked the Seahawks to cover a 1.5-point spread? They win the football game, but they lose you the bet by winning by only 1 point. Of course, could have gone the whole other way. Greg Zuerlein for 42-yard field goal at the buzzer doesn't just a little outside.
Seahawks the luckiest team in the NFL?
No.
Are they?
They are so good.
Are they so good?
Dude, tell me you watched this game last night.
I sort of watched it.
No. Okay. Russell Wilson
I watched
he's just unbelievable how good he is. The touchdown to Tyler Lockett is as good a throw as it is possible for a human being to make. As good a throw as you could put them all up there. Elway, Mahomes, Cutler, Rodgers, put them all up there. You could maybe make one as good. You can't make one better. It's not possible. And also, he's just running circles around everybody. It's remarkable.
I was really thinking about it.
Unbelievable.
I was really thinking about it because I said yesterday that I didn't believe in the Seahawks yet, and I texted you guys last night in the game, and I said the Seahawks are good. They are.
You did.
I think that this comes back. I think Michael Sean Dugar, who's been great with us on our 12 for the 12s,
he's
Friday segment,
preaching to you.
He's preaching to me a little bit, but also I think he summed up what my mental block with the Seahawks is. And I think it's because Pete Carroll has the most defined culture and the most defined style of any head coach in the NFL. They play the mentality that they approach games with is very similar to the Montana State Bobcats, where it's we're not going to win the game in the first quarter or the second quarter or the third quarter. We're going to win the game in the fourth quarter.
Right.
And I think that they have a great captain comeback as their quarterback in Russell Wilson. And I think that the culture is really good. But I also think that because of all those factors, because it is a developmental system when it comes to personnel as well as the style that they choose to play, that I think that they have a definitive ceiling. I think that's my block with the Seahawks. Is that like we're coming into this thing, when we did our NFL prognostications, I said the Seahawks would be an 8 to 9 win team. I can now see them being an 11 or 12 win team, and I think that they probably are the favorite in that division now. And they solidify themselves.
You think so?
They solidified themselves as the favorite by beating the other contender in the division last night. I mean, they have a head-to-head against the Rams now.
Right.
I mean, they have a head-to-head against the defending NFC champions right now.
Yeah.
So I think that they. I mean, but this is the thing though. Russell Wilson and the Seahawks have never won. They've never won less than 9 games since him and Pete Carroll have been the two figureheads of the franchise. They've never won more than 11 games. That's where they're at.
Yeah.
That's where I'm stuck on the Seahawks because I do think the Seahawks could again be an 11-5 or 12-4 team. I do. But I also think, and I think they could be a team that's in the playoffs and win a playoff game, maybe even 2. I just don't think that they have. I think they're stuck exactly where they are. They're never going to be worse than second in the NFC West, but they're never going to win the Super Bowl.
Let me tell you something. If they win 2 playoff games, you're in the NFC Championship game.
I understand, but when you have, but that contrasts exactly what you just said. Because if you have a dude who you really think can make throws like John Elway, you better win the Super Bowl again. Russell Wilson needs to get another ring to solidify his legacy. Period.
How many guys are there who, if you have this quarterback, you better win the Super Bowl?
I'd say 5.
Okay,
and he's one of them.
There's only one Super Bowl.
I understand, but would you not agree as a Green Bay Packers fan that every year the Packers don't win the Super Bowl, that's a disappointment? Because another year that you didn't win the Super Bowl when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Absolutely.
Right?
But also, it's not the fault necessarily, though, now
I understand.
Of the quarterback.
I understand. I'm just saying if you do have one of those transcendent guys and you are paying him as the highest paid player in the NFL, it is Super Bowl or bust, period. And I just don't know if that's realistic for the Seahawks.
I think everything you've said makes sense.
Where you rank the Seahawks in terms of true Super Bowl contenders right now? They're like 5th, right?
They're on
5th
the
or 6th.
outside looking in, but they are looking in. Yes, 5th or 6th. Sure. But here's the point. If you go to the NFC Championship game, you have the realest of real looks at winning. I mean, it is at that point, if you are never going to be less than a 40% expected victory in a championship football game. I mean, it's almost never going to happen. And so if you have those odds, you are I mean, that is as good. What did you say to me about about basketball? If you had start the season with a 5% chance of winning the NBA Finals, you are in great shape.
Totally.
So the Seahawks are in fabulous shape. Are they the favorite to win the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. Are they favorite to go to the Super Bowl? No. But they are. All you need is to get into the tournament. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I agree.
And then see where you're at in week 18.
I agree. I just wonder if they're stuck.
If you are in the playoffs, you're not stuck. Not in the NFL. Other sports, yes. Not in the NFL. Let's pick some games.
Let's do it.
The Minnesota Vikings, a 5-point favorite. The only reason they could possibly be a favorite the way it's going right now in Minnesota is because they're playing at the New York Giants.
Please. That is such an overreactive statement.
Dude.
They played the best defense in the NFL last week. Of course they looked mediocre.
This is not about the Bears. This is about the Kirk Cousins and the offense that has gotten their 2 other best players that are not Dalvin Cook completely
out of sorts. I totally
Diggs is asking out of Minnesota.
I totally agree, but they have one of the best defensive minds in the NFL as their head coach, and this is a defensive team. That's why the Kirk Cousins signing was so dumb, is that you don't need the quarterback when you have the identity the Vikings had.
Right.
But that comes full circle to why they're a 5-point favorite. Because guess what? You played the Redskins and the Bucks, Mr. Danny Dimes. Now you're going to play the Vikings.
Yeah.
You went from playing 2 of the 5 worst defenses in the NFL to one of the 4 best defenses in the entire league.
Well, and also a great fix for your offense stinking is the Giants' defense too.
Definitely.
So when it comes to this game, much as I am down on Minnesota and everything that's going on there, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to win this game on the road, and not just win, but cover this 5-point spread. I lay the 5 points. I take Minnesota.
I do too.
Okay, you and I are in agreement on that. The New England Patriots, a 50. Now this
they have had 4 straight double-digit spreads for the Patriots. That's crazy.
Here's the thing: is the scoring, the point spreads are starting to reflect where we're at in football. It has been at times where you saw these egregious lines and you thought, "My goodness, is this even professional football?" And it is. But also, the scoring is so much higher now that this probably would have been a 10-point spread 4 years ago. But now, and that's, by the way, a dominant point spread in the NFL. Now it's 15.5. You go, well, what's going on? It's not that they're so much better than Washington. They are, obviously, far better, the Patriots. But it's also about just, it's not 24-10 anymore, man. It's 35-21. That's what it is. So, Patriots, 15.5 points at the Washington Redskins.
2 points here. Number 1, text for my brother who's in town now listening to the show. Shout out. The Patriots have not trailed for a snap this season. Not one. Not one snap have they been behind in the game. That's an amazing stat. Second of all, though.
Would it be possible to be trailing for any period of time and not have a snap? They've just never trailed in a game.
They've never trailed in a game.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Secondly, though, how about this whole thing coming full circle? Now Tom Brady's 41 years old, and for whatever reason, as the defending Super Bowl champs, the Patriots were gifted one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. I mean, when you looked at their schedule and put pencil to paper, it was like there was no feasible way that they're not 6-1. Worst case scenario, but by the midpoint of the season, they're going to be 7-0.
It's just,
I mean, they've had
unbelievably
2 touchdown spreads for 4 weeks in a row. That's unheard of in the NFL.
The only losable game that they've played this season so far was at Buffalo last week.
Right.
They got out of it, and they won the football game, which they should have won.
Yep. Skins are terrible. I got the Patriots.
When you get up and over 14, but my goodness, they are bad. It's gone from bad to worse. You thought, okay, now they bring in, No, I can't do it. I'm with you. New England. I can't go the other way on this thing. New England wins by, 40. Denver at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Denver Broncos still searching for their first win. Vic Fangio still searching for his first win. The Chargers, 6.5-point home favorites against the Broncos. The return of Melvin Gordon for the Chargers. By the way, Denver's 0-4. 2 of those losses, in one of them controversially to the Bears and one of them in heartbreaking fashion to the Jags last week. That said, if you can't beat the Jags, and who's a bigger fan than you and I of Minshew mania, okay? But if you can't beat the Jags at home with Gardner Minshew as the quarterback, then I don't want to hear about it from Denver fans. That said, they're going to break through at some point, and the Chargers have been surprisingly poor. The Chargers have been a disappointment through the first quarter of the season. They're 6.5-point home favorites in the soccer stadium, StubHub Center or whatever it is over there in Los Angeles. So I am torn on this. Honestly, I thought the number would be bigger, in which case I would pick Denver. If it's under a touchdown, 6.5, though, I until it happens, you got to prove it to me. Bradley Chubb now out for the year for the Denver Broncos.
I didn't see
Terrible
that.
loss.
That's a hit.
Terrible loss for the Broncos defense. I'm going to take the Chargers at home to cover, as much as I hate it.
This shows you the margin of error in the NFL, how slim it is. The Broncos have lost by 8, 2, 9, and 2. Mm-hmm. So they have cumulative 22-point deficits across the board to get to 0-4.
Right.
That's amazing in itself.
The thing is that Joe Flacco has just been not good, man. He's just not.
Nothing about him's really been good.
Yeah.
Nothing about the Broncos.
Right. That's right. That's true. They're playing close.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers.
Okay. We're just gonna be.
It's like I said, dude. I'm not here to play tit for tat. I'm here to be right.
The Green Bay Packers are on the road. Game of the day at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys a 3.5-point home favorite over the Green Bay Packers.
I got the pack.
I got the Packers winning this straight up.
So do I.
And thank you very much for that. Indianapolis is an 11-point dog on the road at Arrowhead Sunday Night Football. Kansas City Chiefs, 11-point favorites over Indy. Indy has been better, I got to say, than what I thought they would be after Andrew Luck said goodbye. Jacoby Brissett has been a fair NFL quarterback. Let's put it like this. He's been an elite backup. That's what he has been.
Take him over Kirk Cousins.
For sure. I mean, there's a number of guys in the NFL that I'd take Jacoby Brissett over right now. And that's saying something when he was not supposed to be your quarterback. So that is good news. But Indy at Kansas City has not been as dominant as I thought they were going to be.
Really?
I'm still taking the Chiefs, not just to win. 11 points, a lot of points. Patrick Mahomes, dude, under the bright lights Sunday night. Arrowhead is going to be rocking. Give Kansas City fans a full day to get properly prepared for a football game, and they are going to deliver on Sunday Night Football. I got the Chiefs.
Why has Kansas City not been as dominant as you thought? They're averaging 34 points a game.
Yeah, I thought they were going to get 60 a game. 60.
Mahomes threw 4 touchdowns in a quarter.
Yeah,
it's
but
like
they didn't score in the other 3 quarters.
Hey, whatever, man. It's like Ryan Russillo said on his podcast the other day. He said, Mahomes, he's so transcendent and he's so ridiculously consistently electric that we've reached the point where we're already numb to it. It's only the second week, or it's only the second year.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy threw 4 touchdowns in a quarter. We're like, oh, that's Mahomes. Of course he did.
Right.
That's amazing when you actually think about it. I got the Chiefs.
Okay. Very uncontroversial for you and I going together on this the whole way through. We will pick the rest of the NFL games against the spread, and it will be available in the podcast. So if you want the other games, we will do that for you. You can check it out on the Tootell and Nuanez podcast. The picks against the spread brought to us by our friends at Katie O'Keefe's. Coulter, let's hook the people up. Actually, Katie O'Keefe's is hooking the people up. It's homecoming tomorrow, and Katie O'Keefe's has a $25 bar tab for you right here. It's in Coulter's hot hand. 329-1899. Call in right now. Coulter, tell them what they're going to get, other than the obvious.
You just get the $25 bar tab. You also get to experience a great place, a great neighborhood bar in Missoula. It's right there at the Stevens Center. If you go into 2100 Stevens, it's the last storefront on your right. And if you go in, make sure to turn left. Because if you've been to Katie's before, you know what the upstairs looks like with the gambling area and the horse racing area where you can place bets on horse racing. That's pretty cool. That's one of the only places, I think actually the only place in Missoula that has that. But if you go in and turn left, go downstairs, brand new open bar that is so sweet. I mean, it's a giant area. They have everything there. They got darts, board games. They have pool. They have a jukebox. They got poker in the corner, and just a massive place for you to hang out. They don't have food, but fear not. You can bring whatever food you want in there. You can order pizza if you want. You can bring your own takeout in there. Wherever you want, you can go.
Beautiful.
So you don't have to argue with the wife. You don't have to argue with your buddies over who wants what. Just go get whatever you want and meet up at the bar, and there you go. And we're going to get you started off with $25. The only stipulation, you got to use it all while you're there, but that should be pretty easy. If you need a place to watch the game, go check them out. They have a new special running during the weekdays, Mondays and Thursdays. You get a premium shot and a premium draft beer for $6. You're not going to find a better deal than that anywhere in town. And they also have drink specials all Saturday and Sunday for Grizz games and NFL games. So go check them out right now. Give us a call, 329-1899. Got a $25 gift card for you. Just pick it up at the tailgate party from us tomorrow at the base of the walking bridge, right in the Chamber of Commerce parking lot. Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
2-minute mashup to finish out the week next.
Hey folks, Ryan Tootell, and I'm here with Josh of The Advocates. Josh, do most injury accidents end up in court?
Luckily, most personal injury cases can be settled out of court through a fair negotiation with an insurance company. However, sometimes it is necessary. I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to get a fair settlement. Luckily, most personal injury cases can be settled out of court with a fair negotiation with the insurance company. However, I'm prepared to do whatever it takes to get the right settlement for you.
It's Josh at The Advocates, 640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com.
We ate a lot of steaks before we came up with the Montana Club's Private Reserve Cut Angus. It's as good a steak as you're going to get. Our Private Reserve Cut Angus is specially cut for us. And with our custom seasoning, it has a flavor that's absolutely incomparable. We're confident that it will satisfy the most discriminating steak customer for an unrivaled steak experience. Real Montana, real food. The Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles to be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 10/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015s through 2020s, subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
Get ready to sing, dance, and laugh until your cheeks hurt with the interactive, unforgettable Dueling Pianos show, October 19th at the UC Ballroom. Dueling Pianos is a gala benefiting Montana children, and you can help by purchasing tickets at montanahope.org. Guests will enjoy a lively evening of dueling pianos, hors d'oeuvres, silent auctions, and raffles. All proceeds will benefit the Montana Hope Project and Catholic Social Services of Montana. Kids 10 and under are free. Learn more and purchase tickets at montanahope.org.
Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Congratulations to Mike. Put himself in the KDO Keys podcast. Boy. It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Wrapping up a Friday show for you. Wrapping up a week. It's Tootell and Nuanez broadcasting from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. If you missed anything in the show, listen on the podcast. Podcast available everywhere you get your podcasts. It's the Tootell and Nuanez podcast. What's your last name?
I got to tell you this. No one could pronounce my last name until I was 27 years old, and now because it gets said on the radio a million times a day, I actually have so many people that know how to pronounce my last name. So thank you to everybody at Missoula Broadcasting for teaching people how to actually say my last name. I got people that have known me for 25 years that still call me Nuanez.
You got it, Nuanez. We are, so if you check out the podcast is available thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Go listen to it, click on the links, rate it, review it, all that stuff. Also, check out the FCS Speculators podcast, brand new, out as of Wednesday evening. And you're going to want to listen to that before the weekend games get here. So go check that out today as well. This weekend on ESPN Radio, specifically tonight, Nationals-Dodgers, Game 2 of the NLDS series. Dodgers up 1-0 over Washington. So listen to that. Also, tomorrow we will be on the air at 11:30. Come on down to the tailgate adjacent to the walking bridge across from the Eastgate Shopping Center. Grab a drink, grab something to eat, get some swag, hang out, spend some time, have some fun, throw some little foam footballs around, and listen to us. We'll be on the air at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Get you ready for the Grizzly homecoming game against Idaho State. Then, of course, we'll be back on the air for the postgame show as soon as the game is over here on ESPN Radio. And then tomorrow night, Game 2 of the Tampa Bay-Houston series. Houston up 1-0. They were 6-2 victor over the Tampa Bay Rays. And then on Sunday, how about some NFL football for you? Love this. Baltimore-Pittsburgh. Every time you get that matchup, let's do it. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. And then in the evening, Game 3 of the Dodgers and National Series. So there you go. Big sports weekend on ESPN Radio. We do this every week now. Shout out. David putting this thing together for us. It's great. I can't wait. I'm so pumped up about this. This week's Tootell and Nuanez 2-minute mashup. Dad, I'm learning French. I was like, that's great. I'm learning Hauk. Hello, Montana. We're happy to be 1-0.
They're a handful to prepare for.
He owes Coy Steele a 6-pack of beer because he just hung him out to dry.
At least. It's perplexing to me, man.
I really, truly think that the Cats can win their next 5 conference games without throwing the ball.
The Bengals, as road underdogs, are probably going to win this game straight up.
But I do think he can come into the game and complete 8 passes. He could go 8 of 20. Mitch Guller is the best receiver in the Big Sky Conference.
Joined by Michael Sean Dugar.
Man, Will Disley, man, you can't stop him.
Just arm candy, circle the wagons. Let's get back to brass tacks and do what we do and do it well. Boys and girls, you want to have yourself some fun, enjoy yourself, go to the Cal Poly website, the football page, and take a look at JJ's profile pic. That is a glorious thing that you did there for the camera. We appreciate that. That is a winning smile, my friend.
We're nowhere close to the end of this.
My boss walked in and I was looking at stocks.
Medical school sounds all fine and dandy, and I know I'd probably be a good doctor, but I want to be in football.
This is a problem.
Story of your life, bottom of the barrel.
Coulter, it is a big problem.
But he's significantly faster, and if you think that's hyperbole, it's not.
Sam Herder joining us.
There's certainly a lot of eyes on the Montana schools with both of these teams being back in the top 10. That's good for the FCS because when you see teams like Montana State ranked, fans from out east and down south and other parts of the Midwest really take notice because they're the blue blood programs of the FCS, and when these teams are good, a lot of teams take notice of it. I think both are back to being a contender.
Both the teams I wanted to win lost. This is going to be an all-out street fight.
You want to know who he looks like? He's not Eric Berrier. He's not Case Cookus. He's not Kevin Thompson. He's not Dalton Sneed.
Cal Poly hopes Isaiah's not on the plane.
I really don't think you need to be able to throw the ball to win.
We don't make excuses around here.
It is nice to have a Bible that gives you the answers to the test.
What do you expect out of a sophomore?
Does he have a giant 12 tattooed on his back?
I like to see us getting first down.
It's a pictorial referent on the social media, a very nice invention that they made for us on the Instagram, 1029 ESPN there.
I really like to see defensive linemen on their back with our offensive linemen on top of them. That's something I enjoy.
Their topographical features, often there's snow on them. It is nice to know that we live in such a generous town here in Missoula. Coulter, I don't know how he does his magic back there.
We got other guys.
How's my hair today? I mean, the only regret I have about the 2-minute mashup, it's not a 20-minute mashup,
I just can't believe how much stuff he fits into the 2 minutes.
David, working his magic on the machine.
I love
that thing.
I mean, the irreverence in Jeff Choate's voice when he says, I know what all the fans and all the media and all you people want to see, but you want to know what makes me happy.
First downs.
At offensive linemen laying on top of defensive linemen. It is just so funny.
Yes. It's perfect. It's everything.
When you're
like
sitting front row in those press conferences, it takes a good effort to stay composed because you can chuckle a little bit because he wants you to chuckle a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm about to howl because I just think that this crazy guy is just so funny. It's great. Pure gold.
Well, we'll be playing that for you throughout the week. My goodness, I mean, we should just play that on a loop. Let that just be let that be ESPN Radio. Boys and girls, enjoy the games tomorrow. Again, 1 o'clock kickoff at Washington Grizzly for homecoming. Come by, say hi, enjoy the tailgate tomorrow with us. And again, 11:30, we're on the air tomorrow morning, so we'll be there for you with everything you need to know about the Grizzly Idaho State football game and the return of Rob Fennessy to Missoula, Montana. And then 6 o'clock kickoff Mountain Standard Time as the Bobcats go triple option versus triple option, I guess is what's going to happen as they take on Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. You pronounce the S. I've been told.
You are a quick learner, Gus.
Tootell. I mean, you get
10 seconds. What's going to happen this weekend? I think Montana's going to throttle Idaho State.
I think the Montana is going to win, not throttle, and I think the Bobcats are going to win handily over Cal Poly.
I think both teams win going away.
Yeah.
And the collision course continues.
We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy the parade, baseball, football on your radio. Have a great weekend. Catch you Monday. Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
It happens. You're positive you put your bank card back in your wallet, but the next time you need it, it's missing. Avoid the panic and take control with the My Card app and debit card from Farmer State Bank. Our app lets you control your debit card and securely turn it off right from your phone. Safe, secure, instant. My Card is available only at Farmer State Bank. Ask about it at any of our 9 locations or learn more at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, member FDIC.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark